crypto zoo. Yes, I had a passing interest in Bigfoot like everybody, but really UFOs were my passion. I really didn't have an interest in the crypto zoo side of things until I saw this 10-foot lizard not too far from my folks' house. I was at their house, watching their house while they were in Europe, and I went to mail a letter at midnight because the Merrifield post office at that time in Merrifield, Virginia was open till midnight. So I was trying to get this bill marked that day or something, and it's no longer open till midnight, just to let you know. If you're running late with your taxes, it's only open till 9 now. It started this year. For 30, 40 years it was open till midnight. Well, anyway, this is just a general idea of the area. You can see the Capitol Beltway and Arlington Boulevard and Little River Turnpike, which is 236. And you can see this green area is a park system that winds its way in there. And on one end of the park it might be called one thing, on the other end of the park it's called something else. But the biggest piece of it is Eakin Park. And that is, well, where that little A is actually, it was in the park area where the real green space was. That little mark is a little off. But I'm not going to dwell on this because a lot of people have heard this story before. But the head of it looked like a Jackson chameleon. That's what happened to me after I saw a 10-foot lizard, and I saw it for quite some time. I mean, it wasn't like a fleeting sighting. I mean, it was blocking the road. I mean, I drank it in for like 10 minutes because there was no traffic at midnight. I drove away, and I thought, that's a really big piece of nature. That is really something. But then it started working away on me that was not a big piece of nature. That's totally abnormal. That's weird, you know. So when I drove back, I was in a different frame of mind. It wasn't like, oh, look at this wonderful piece of nature. I was much more edgy, concerned, wondering what was going on. And I did see it a second time. It's kind of hard to explain. It's a long story, and I don't want to dwell on this lizard sighting because we're here to talk about UFOs. But I turned around in the parking lot, and then I said, I'm out of here. I don't even want to see it again. So I started flooring it. But at that point, it had rotated. Instead of being longitudinal like this, it was lined up, looking right at me, and it had hunkered down in the macadam. It was the first week in September. There was just finally a nip in the air, but I'm sure macadam was still quite warm. And the impression I got is it was trying to warm itself up on the hot macadam. But then when you interrupted it, it would kind of rear up and raise up to a higher profile. It's still on 4 legs, but it was doing one of these lizard things, you know, back and forth. And it was a very strange sight. But the second time I saw it was hunkered down again because I had driven halfway home and it had been 10 minutes. It had a chance to get back just flat on the road. The second time I saw it, I didn't know it was there. It was a very small target, like a triangle. And I just had this old Ford Fairlane with a very high carriage, and I saw it at the last second, and I really couldn't do anything but just roll over it. And I did roll over it, because even though it was 10 feet long, I mean, the thing wasn't really tall, and if you look at the carriage of an old Ford Fairlane, it's quite high. So it was just perfectly lined up, and I just cringed, and I went over it. I have no doubt in my mind that that lizard was 100% real and doing totally normal lizard things while it was here. Now, where it came from, I cannot tell you. I've often said I would trade my lizard sighting for a daylight disc any day of the week, but I've never been able to get that cosmic trade going. You know, nobody will give me their sighting for mine. So I'm stuck with the 10-foot lizard. I had a chance to see a female Jackson's chameleon when I was in Hawaii, you know, in cages. They don't get real big. Keep in mind, chameleons, the giant chameleon is 2.5 feet long. So this was not normal. Chameleons never walk on the road. They live their entire lives in the canopy. They have grasping feet and hands. They don't walk on pavement. So it really makes no sense, but the head was very much with the big turret eyes, and I can't explain it. But the point of this whole story is there some kind of nexus between these phenomena? If you talk to Stan Gordon up there in Pennsylvania, he will tell you that sometimes Bigfoot is seen with UFO sightings. That sometimes the entities themselves resemble animals, like maybe the chupacabra effect down in South America and Mexico and so forth. I don't have the answers. I'm just saying this thing did not belong there, and I doubt that it was there 24 hours a day for 10 years to grow to that length. I don't think so. I think we're talking about something else here. Moving right along. I want to just mention Trevor Constable. I don't think big point of research for people. He's kind of like a digression down a rabbit hole. But when I first was exposed to Trevor Constable, I remember going into this funky bookstore in Arlington, off of Arlington Boulevard, and I guess it was Maryfield, but it was a really cool bookstore. We don't have cool bookstores anymore because everybody has to just go click on the web. But anyway, I was very struck by this guy, Trevor Constable, and his books he had. In '58, he put out They Live in the Sky, and then he kind of republished that information in '76 with The Cosmic Pulse of Life. And he was kind of a gadfly, an adventurer, an aviation historian. I don't know how good he was at that. Maybe Don Melinner knows, I don't know. But his whole shtick was that he would go out into the desert and he would photograph under certain conditions with infrared film these huge amoeba-like animals, as he called them, these critters. And his point of view was that these could have explained some UFO sightings, if not all. In his mind, this was a big thing. Now, I grant you that some of his photographs, they are in the sky and they do look like living things. And he urges modern people to try this with digital cameras and see if you get the same results. He rarely saw the creatures, though sometimes in his book I remember him saying, I saw something in the corner of my eye, decided to snap. And he would get these oddball pictures, and using infrared film, a certain filter, and so forth. But he encourages people to try to duplicate his work with digital cameras. I doubt it would work. I think we're talking about an emulsion situation. But it really captured my imagination. There are more pictures in the book than this, and this is all I can find extant on the web. But this was scanned from his original photograph at kind of high resolution. But he had a lot of these pictures that I don't know what it was. Maybe it was an emulsion problem with the infrared film. I don't know enough about it. But a whole cult or a whole lore has developed around his sightings. If you go on the web, you can hear interviews from him and play podcasts. He got very caught up in this orgone energy and this whole idea with Wilhelm Reich. If you point this orgone energy machine at the clouds and stir up the ether, you will stimulate these creatures, and you can take pictures of them under certain conditions.